Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhujis and Matajis. Rendered Pranam. Thank you so much for joining in. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. We will start with a short Kirtan. The Kirtan is Bhajahu Re Mana. And then we'll proceed with the class. Bhajahu Re Mana is written by Govindadas Kaviraj. So I'll share the screen for everybody to follow. भजहु रे मन श्रीनन्दनन्दना अभय चरणारविन्दे दुर्लभ मानव जन्म सत्संगे तरो होई भव सिन्धुरे भजहु रे मन श्रीनन्दनन्दना अभय चरणारविन्दे दुर्लभ मानव जन्म सत्संगे तरो होई भव सिन्धुरे शीतातप बात बरीशन इदिन जामिनी जागिरे विफली से विनो चपल सुख लभ भजहु रे मन श्रीनन्दनन्दना अभय चरणारविन्दे धन यौवन पुत्र परिजन इथे किया छे परती तेरे कमल दल जला जीवन टलमल भजहु हरिपद नीति रे धन यौवन पुत्र परिजन इथे किया छे परती तेरे कमल दल जला जीवन टलमल भजहु हरिपद नीति रे भजहु रे मन श्रीनन्दनन्दना अभय चरणारविन्दे श्रवण कीर्तन स्मरण वन्दन पाद सेवन दास्य रे पूजन सखी जन आत्मनिवेदन गोविंद दासाभिलाष रे श्रवण कीर्तन स्मरण वन्दन पाद सेवन दास्य रे पूजन सखी जन आत्मनिवेदन गोविंद दासाभिलाष रे भजहु रे मन श्रीनन्दनन्दना अभय चरणारविन्दे दुर्लभ मानव जन्म सत्संगे तरो होई भव सिन्धुरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम Srinandanandana Abhaya Charanaravind. I'll go by the translations because it's a wonderful song, bhajan by Govinda Das. O mind, just worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda, which makes one fearless. Having obtained this rare human birth, cross over this ocean of worldly existence through the association of saintly persons. Both in the day and at night, I remain sleepless, suffering the pains of the heat and cold, the wind and the rain. For a fraction of flickering happiness, I have uselessly served wicked and miserly men. What assurance of real happiness is there in all of one's wealth, youthfulness, sons, and family members? This life is tottering like a drop of water on a lotus petal. Therefore, you should always serve and worship the divine feet of Lord Hari. It is desire and great longing of Govinda Das to engage himself in the 9 processes of bhakti, namely, hearing the glories of Lord Hari and chanting those glories, constantly remembering him and offering prayers to him, serving the Lord's lotus feet, serving the Supreme Lord as a servant, worshipping him with flowers and incense, and so forth, serving him as a friend and completely offering the Lord's one's very self. Hare Krishna. Thank you everybody for joining. So this bhajan actually tells us how short of time we have for practicing bhakti. So let's appreciate the Guru Parampara, which has actually bestowed upon us this mercy of being in this path, this very rarest of rare paths. And we are very fortunate to be here. We'll start with offering the prayers to the Guru Parampara. So we seek the permission of the Parampara to discuss the spiritual subjects of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatamvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye. Nashtaprayesha Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajagre. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam panghum langayate girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram. Om Apavitra Pavitrova Sarvavastham Gato Piva Yasmaret Pundarikaksham Sapahya Abhyantaram Shuchihi. Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, everybody, welcome to the morning Bhagavatam class on this auspicious day of Dvadashi after Mokshada Ekadasi. I'm so happy to see you all, and thank you for joining in and giving me an opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. Though I don't know, I'm not at all qualified, but I've been given the opportunity. So I am very, very grateful to Lilananda Prabhu, to Anu Mataji, and all the devotees here who have allowed me to speak a few words on Srimad Bhagavatam. And by the mercy of Guru Maharaj and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, I'll try to speak a few words based on what I've heard, what I've studied, and I'll try not to put any of my interpretation into picture. But in case I make any mistakes, kindly forgive me with your kind heart and bless me so that I speak the right words. Hare Krishna. I hope I'm audible, Prabhujis and Matajis. Please let me know in case.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah?
Hare Krishna.
Is it very clear?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavats, madam.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Andarki peru perna Dandavat Pranam. I'm very, very scared right now whether I'll be able to complete it within time. So, yeah, thank you so much. So first, we'll start with a recap of what has been covered so far. So we see that, I'll share my screen. Is this visible, Prabhujis, Matajis?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, yes.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So what we have covered so far in the chapter 30 is initially the chapter starts with Vidura asking two questions to Maitreya Muni, and he asks that what did Prachitas achieve? Like what actually happened in the previous chapter was they, under the guidance of Shiva, they chant the Rudra Gita. And so, Vidura is basically asking Maitreya that by chanting the Rudra Gita, what did they achieve? So, one is that question. And also, his doubt is that who is Shiva? What is Shiva known for? Let's be interactive. Yeah, what is Shiva known for? Hare Krishna, somebody can answer. Hare Krishna, am I audible?
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mataji. What is Shiva known for?
He is one of the Gunavatar for destruction.
Yes, and what is he very famous for?
His mercy.
Why do everybody go to Shiva?
He's Ashutosh.
Ashutosh. So he is very famous for giving benedictions, right? And most of the people actually go to him for material benedictions. So, but when people when people worship Shiva, he is obliged. It becomes an obligation for him to satisfy them. But when people worship Vishnu, he becomes happy because he is the biggest of the Vaishnavas, the tallest of the Vaishnavas. So Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. And so therefore, what pleases him most is when somebody is worshipping Vishnu. Therefore, he guides Prachitas to actually worship Vishnu. So he is. So what did Prachitas achieve by chanting Rudra Gita? So we see that in the initial verses, they actually achieve the darshan of Lord Vishnu. And the first few verses is about these questions. And then the 5th to 7th verse actually tell us that more about the Lord's appearance, how he looked when he appeared, his form. And so they talk about his 8-handed form that gave darshan to the Prachitas, and how beautiful he looked, and his paraphernalia, his clothes, his ornaments, everything is described between 5 to 7. So we see that whenever there is such a description, usually Prabhupada is very ecstatic and very enthusiastically he gives the purports about the personal form of the Lord. And he again and again re-emphasizes that Lord is a person, he is not impersonal. So that's what we see in the initial verses. Now what happens between the 8th verse to the 21st verse is, now the Lord has given darshan, so he starts speaking to the Prachitas. So, and the 8 to 21 basically tells us what all he speaks to the Prachitas. So first he tells them that he's very pleased with the Prachitas. Why is he pleased? Do you remember why is he pleased? So basically he is very pleased because the Prachitas have a very loving relationship between them, amongst them, and they all are together. They are there. There are 10 Prachitas, and they're all together. They performed austerities for 10,000 years together and they followed the orders of their father Prachinabahi. They go into the water and they meditate. They get then Shiva guides them. They chant Rudra Gita. They do everything to please Lord. And so we all know that two people are not alike. Everybody has different personalities. And so the point is, even having different personalities, they all came together to perform this activity of performing austerities for the pleasure of Vishnu. And that is what is very pleasing to Vishnu. When people come together to perform his loving devotional service, that's what pleases him the most. So the real unity is when individual souls come together to serve Krishna. That is only the real unity. And so that's what is mentioned in the first few verses. So then he tells that because he's so pleased, then he tells like kind of falashruti as to what exactly they will get. Or what exactly will people get by reading this chapter or by hearing about Prachitas or remembering about their friendly togetherness in the service of Lord. So he says, whoever remembers you also will become friendly. So that is a Palashruti. Whoever chants Rudra Gita, I'll give them all the benedictions. So he's talking about both the things. He's also talking about the all benedictions means be it spiritual, be it material. All kind of benedictions are given. So, and then he also talks about, in the 12th verse, he talks about the prediction of the future. What is the prediction that he makes? He basically tells that you will have a son from, so he will basically marry the daughter of two great people who again came together, which is Pramlocha, who is an Apsara, and Sage Kandu. So they have a daughter. The daughter's name is Marishi, I think, and they are going to marry. So he is giving a future prophecy that they are going to marry. All the 10 Prachetas uh, will marry the daughter of Sage Kandu and Pramlocha, and that they will have one son from her, and that son's name is Daksha, who is again the reincarnation of Daksha only. So if we see Daksha, so it comes during the purports also that this Daksha is the same Daksha who was there in Swayambhuva Manu. So that was the first Manu. And after so many Manvantaras, in the sixth Manvantara, he's again taking birth as Daksha. And this time he's also again, because after for then, so from the first Manvantara until the fifth Manvantara, he's actually performing all the austerities for the pleasure of Vishnu. And he again is reborn with all the opulences for the procreation. So now we see that though the Prachetas, there are 10 and they are getting only one son, and the whole entire focus is basically on devotional service. They don't really want to get into this procreation, progeny, and expanding the population of the earth and all that. So they leave that responsibility to Daksha. So that's why the Lord basically instructs them that you marry the daughter of Pramlocha and Sage Kandu, and then this is what it is. And then the 17th and 18th verses were talking about the benedictions that Lord gives. So what was covered in the previous class was until 17th. What does 17th cover is actually the material benedictions. So what are the material benedictions that Prachetas get? It's very, very unique, very surprising of the Lord to actually give such a benediction to a devotee who is very longing to actually go back to Godhead as soon as possible. But what does he get? The Lord then blessed all the Prachetas, saying, "My dear princess, by my mercy, you can enjoy all the facilities of the world as well as the heavenly world. And indeed, you can enjoy all of them without hindrance and with full strength for 1,000,000 celestial years." So, is this a boon or a bane? What do we call it? But this is actually again to glorify the Prachetas. That is the main reason why God actually gives such benedictions. So he's saying that so for a devotee, usually we want to go back to Godhead as soon as possible. We want to get out of this cycle of birth and death, this material entanglement. That's what we want, right? All of us. But they are getting the benediction that all the facilities of this world, means all the benefits, be it strength, fame, name, wealth, prosperity, beauty, everything they are going to get from this material world as well as the heavenly world. So in the heaven again, it is about the lifespan, and he's saying that you can enjoy all of them without hindrance with full strength for 1,000,000 celestial years, not even earth years, it is celestial years. So the Lord blessed all the Prachetas, and this is the material benediction. Now that we are starting with the 18th verse today, and the 18th verse starts with the spiritual benediction that the Lord is talking about. So we'll start. What we'll do is we'll go with the verse and translation. So what I will be doing is I will be doing the verse one of you, I would suggest that whoever wants to read the translation may please raise your hand so I know in what order somebody is wanting to read. So the first who raised will get the chance first, and then you can again put down your hand, lower your hand as soon as your turn is over, so the next person gets a chance. So since we have limited time, I will not be reading all the purports in length, but I have made notes of some important points from the purports that Prabhupada has given. So we will go through those important points verse by verse. So verse and then translation we will do, and the purports only the key points. Hare Krishna. So Srimad Bhagavatam 4.30.18. Everybody can see the screen?
Yes, Mataji.
अथमय्यनपायिन्या भक्त्या पक्वगुणाशया उपयास्यथ मद्धामा निर्विद्या निरया तथा अथमय्यनपायिन्या भक्त्या पक्वगुणाशया उपयास्यथ मद्धामा निर्विद्या निरया तथा. So yes, we'll see. First is Shilpa Mataji. Please read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Translation. Therefore, you will develop unadulterated devotional service unto me and be freed from all material contamination. At that time, being completely unattached to material enjoyment in the so-called heavenly planets as well as in hellish planets, you will return home, go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. You can lower your hand. Yeah. So what are we seeing here? You will develop unadulterated devotional service. So this is a key word here. So imagine that after practicing for 1 million celestial years, now what they were given the first benediction was you will be able to enjoy this material world and all the heavenly pleasures, despite which they are going to develop unadulterated devotional service. Can we even think about it? Like even if we get little enjoyment right now, we get distracted from our devotional service. So, but they are given the benediction, which also means that during those 1 million celestial years, they did not waver from their devotional service. They continued it as it is. And only then can they also get it as an end result. So the Prachetas received the special facilities by the grace of Lord, and which is enabling them, okay, to live millions of years without being deviated from the transcendental loving service. So despite this opportunity which is given to them for extensive material enjoyment, the Prachetas have remained fully engaged in the devotional service, in the loving devotional service of Lord. And that is what is leading to a complete freedom from the material attachment. But how did this happen? Anybody would get entangled when enjoying worldly comfort. So what we can do is we can rewind a bit. Okay. So where do we rewind to? That they heard Rudra Gita. So now what happens when one hears Rudra Gita? What is the significance of hearing Rudra Gita? It is basically, Rudra Gita is basically, again, glorification of Vishnu. So therefore, what happened here is Punya Shravana Kirtana. So what they have done is simply by hearing and chanting. So we have heard what is Punya Shravana Kirtana, is simply by hearing and chanting, one becomes purified. So, and so when the senses get purified, then they start rendering devotional service, loving devotional service unto Lord. What is that verse which tells that? Rishikesha, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. So, and that is called Bhakti. So what is Bhakti? Basically, after Shravanam, you perform devotional service with those purified senses. That is only Bhakti. So the seed of Bhakti is usually Shravanam. Now, what is the result of practicing Bhakti? This is given in Bhagavad Gita 14.26, which says, Mam chayo abhyabhicarena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan sagunan samatityetan
Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate.
Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. So that when one performs such loving devotional service and unfailing in all circumstances. So here they proved, they are basically, the Bhagavad Gita is the principle and Bhagavatam is actually the execution. So therefore Prachetas are actually demonstrating the application, that they performed the loving devotional service and they were unfailing in all circumstances, even despite getting all those benedictions, living through the millions of celestial years, enjoying all the benedictions. So they were unfailing. Unfailing in what? In performing devotional service. And therefore, they at once transcended the modes of material nature. And so that's what Bhagavad Gita 14.26 says, that they will transcend the modes and thus come to the level of Brahman. So transcending the modes means no more contamination. No more contamination means there is no more rajas, tamas, or sattva. It's only Shuddha Sattva. And therefore, that is the prerequisite for going to the spiritual world, to go to the Brahman platform in the first place. So that is the basic prerequisite. And then the Prachetas attain perfection. Now, what actually is this perfection? As we discussed, it is to transcend the world, the material world, and go back to Godhead. And it is not to be entangled in the cycle of birth and death. So why can't perfection be attained by staying in this material world? Can anybody tell me? Anything which reminds you why?
Three modes.
Yes, three modes. But something very interesting that Krishna also spoke about these, about the material world, that why one cannot transcend the modes is, it is that verse which says, Brahma bhuvana loka punaravartino arjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. So he says that, sorry, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery. So wherein repeated birth and death take place. So whether it is Brahmaloka or the lowest of the hellish planets, everywhere there is birth and death. That's what Krishna clarified already in Bhagavad Gita. So, and that is what this 14 planetary systems which are there within the material world all have the cycle of birth and death. Only the time span, the lifespan may change from one planet to another or one system to another, but ultimately there is this cycle of birth and death exists. So all planets in the material world from Brahmaloka to the hellish realms are unsuitable for a devotee, as they are places of misery. So the Lord emphasizes in Bhagavad Gita that reaching his abode ensures freedom from the cycle of birth and death, and that is the only solution, that is the only way that one can get out of this cycle. So it can't happen while you are in this material world, but it can happen only when you transcend this material world. When can you transcend the material world? Is when you transcend the modes. And when can you transcend the modes? When you engage in something superior, something Shuddha Sattva, instead of engaging anything to do with Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, you have to engage in Shuddha Sattva, which is the loving devotional service of the Lord. So when do Prachetas achieve this perfection? They are actually achieving it at the end of the lifespan. So the benediction mentioned in the 18th verse is saying that at the end of your life, basically you will. So achieving perfection means you come to me. And when will you come to me? Basically when you leave this material world. So that basically is the end of life. But and we also know, and the question of Vidura to Maitreya was two things. One was that what did they achieve from Rudra Gita, which is darshan of Lord, and then which again is interlinking to the two benedictions, which answer the second question also of Vidura, that what did they do while they were here? They were here for 1 million celestial years. So what did they do during that time? So that also is answered here, that they performed this service. So do we know of any more examples other than Prachitas who did not get distracted in the midst of this kind of opulence?
Dhruv Maharaj Mataji. He also got similar benedictions.
And Dhruv Maharaj and
Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj and
Prudh Maharaj.
Prithu Maharaj and Yudhishthir Maharaj, Swayambhuva Manu, Parikshit Maharaj, right? So there are many examples already. But it's not the first time that Prachitas are getting this. But there are so many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam which talk about the different personalities who got such opulences, but they were unwavering in their devotional service to Lord. And ultimately, they achieved the perfection, right? So that is what it is talking about. So when we see this thing again, so the key points in verse 18 is that you will develop unadulterated devotion service unto me, become freed from material contamination, and you will return back to Godhead. These are the 3 key points mentioned in this benediction. And we also saw how exactly they, if we talk about how exactly Prachitas attained perfection, is through this process. Rudra Gita, Punya Shravana Kirtana, purification of senses, and they performed bhakti with the purified senses, and then they transcended the modes and went back to Godhead, as mentioned, as given in principle by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 14.26. So now we look at verse 19. Griheshvavishatam chapi pumsam kushala-karmanam matvartayamanam nabandhaya grihamata. Translation, Vanilla Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Translation.
Translation.
Those who are engaged in auspicious activities in devotional service certainly understand that the ultimate enjoyer or beneficiary of all activities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, when one acts, he offers the results to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and passes life always engaged in the topics of Lord. Even though such a person may be participating in family life, he is not affected by the results of his actions. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So here it is just an expansion of what was there in the previous verse, that okay, how did they actually achieve the perfection? So this is like continuing as to what exactly they did. They were engaged in auspicious activities in devotional service. Ultimate end, when can somebody not be attached to anything in this material world, is when they understand that the ultimate enjoyer or beneficiary of all activities is Supreme Personality of Godhead. When you know that he is the enjoyer, he is the benefactor, he is everything, and he is also the doer. So then you don't get attached to whatever you possess, whether it is all the dualities, be it like happiness or distress, and like anything, whether it is poverty or richness, everything that exists, you are not affected by them. So when one acts, he offers the results to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is telling you the process. So how did Prachetas achieve that? And if this process is followed, then anybody can achieve it, is what basically this verse is telling us. So results to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And a very important topic which is mentioned here, on which actually Prabhupada expands in the purport, is this: passes life always engaged in the topics of the Lord. So what Prabhupada is doing is actually he's taking some key points from the translation. So that's what I have observed, that he usually picks up one point which is very, very important for our bhakti, and then he expands on it in the purport, because rest of it is self-explanatory in the translation. Now, when we talk about this engaged in the topics of the Lord, what does it mean? How do we engage in topics of the Lord? What is one key way.
Hearing about his Leelas.
Yes, which is basically Krishna Katha, right? So, Krishna Katha is that vaccine which gives us immunity, right? And for to whom it provides the immunity? To one who is engaged in Krishna consciousness. And so, constantly hearing about Krishna Katha gives us that immunity from any such fall downs, or I mean, at least it improves our attachment to Krishna and detachment from the worldly matters. We saw also in Gopi Gita when Prabhuji mentioned that the stronger your desire to attach to Krishna, the higher is the tendency to detach with the worldly matters. It is an automatic process. You don't have to make any effort and special endeavor to actually detach from the world. You don't have to do that. You just attach to Krishna and automatically everything else is taken care of. And you can just even realize this from your own experience, that think that, okay, how was I 10 years back? How was I 5 years back? How was I 2 years back? Or even if somebody has joined just 1 month back, you can think, how was I 1 month back? And you will see that there was a difference. But did you do anything exclusively for taking care of these issues? Like whether I'm suffering in, whether be it my job, whether I'm not able to handle the relationships properly, and I'm not able to handle my boss properly, my work is giving me a lot of distress, whatever you keep seeing, did you do anything? If it is, and in the material world, you'll observe that even if you try to do your best to handle each of these areas of your life individually, has it given any significance, significant betterment in your life? At least I have not seen it. The only way I resolved my issues was when I came to Krishna consciousness and started hearing about Krishna without my realization, because I was so busy hearing what happened. For some time, all these went into the background. And eventually I saw that all the issues, they were actually disappearing from my life point by themselves. I did not do anything. What I did was that after 3 months or 6 months, I just do a review. Okay, what is my situation now? And then I realized that, these are such trivial matters in which I was like all the time occupied, and I was so worried about. It gave me so much distress for so long. It was nothing. Actually, now it feels like some ant has come and bitten us. That's it. So something which was piercing our heart before, something which was like pindestundedi mana gundeni. But now it feels so very trivial. So that is the power of Krishna Katha. So Prabhupada expands on that only in the purport. He says Krishna Katha acts as a vaccine, and regularly taking shelter of Krishna Katha keeps us in the shelter of Lord. So Bhagavad Gita emphasizes that one who enjoys the results of actions becomes bound, while one who offers them to the God remains liberated. So that is only the key. Whatever results you perform actions, obviously we can't like not perform actions, we perform actions. But if we offer the result to Krishna, we are liberated. If we enjoy the results of our actions, we become bound. This is the only difference. Without Krishna consciousness, material activities deepen the bondage, and we are subjected to all the consequences of the actions that we are taking. So dovetailing everything in the service of the Lord is very, very crucial. And renouncing the material world without such engagement is the mistake. So Prabhupada also talks about sannyasis who actually renounce the world, but without renounce the world. Why they want to renounce the world is basically they don't want to get affected by the results of their actions. So they want to avoid the results of their actions, so they are renouncing the world. But Krishna is not in the picture. In such case, such is a useless renunciation. That's what Krishna, and that's what Prabhupada actually highlights. The Supreme Lord may take away material opulence from an immature devotee, as it can be detrimental to devotional service. So very, very important point, that here, especially we are talking about the opulences they got. So a mature devotee would use those opulences in the service of the Lord, and also not get attached with those opulences that Today it may be there, tomorrow it may not be there. It's easier said than done. But I'm just trying to convey the points which Prabhupada has mentioned. And I hope I hear myself and practice the same. But that's what he says, that if you are like immature, means what is immaturity? Is basically getting attached to those opulences, fearing detachment from those opulences, and not using them in Krishna's service. Or on the other hand, sannyasi is thinking that any opulence is not good and it will keep us entangled. So both the situations are not good. Rather, you use whatever you have got in the service of Krishna and you will not be bound. And that again is a principle mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So we have to remember that all the principles are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita means they are patthar ki lakir, which means that when you are, if it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, means that is it. So, and that is the truth that will happen. Whether we believe it or we don't believe it, or we are doubtful, that is our problem. But if it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, it means that this is certain to happen. So when he says that, and that he will take away the material opulence if somebody is immature and not worthy of that opulence, and does not have the right attitude towards the opulence, then he will take it away. So that's what is mentioned. So what is verse 19 telling us? Talks about the process. How can you be in the material world but still remain unaffected by the duality? So we saw that the verse translation talked about how they practice the devotional service. So devotees understand that Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer and he's the supreme benefactor. They offer the results of activities to Supreme Personality of Godhead and stay unaffected. So this is only the way to stay unaffected the dualities of this world. And the key point that we discussed about is passes life always engaged in the topics of the Lord. So, which is the Krishna Katha. And Prabhupada is basically highlighting, talks about the importance of Krishna Katha, attitude towards the material opulence in Krishna consciousness. Without Krishna consciousness, material activities deepen the bondage, subjecting individuals to the consequences of their actions. And he also talks about sannyasa, that without Krishna consciousness, just to become free from reactions is a big mistake. So this is what we saw in verse 19. Now proceeding to verse 20. Is everything okay, going on well, understandable, Mataji's, Prabhuji's?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the pace okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. नव्यवदृढये यज्ञो ब्रह्मैतत् ब्रह्मवादिभिः न मुह्यन्ति न शोचन्ति न हृष्यन्ति यतो गताः. So please raise your hands, whoever wants to read next. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Please read.
Always translation. Always engaging in the activities of devotional service, devotees feel ever increasingly fresh and new in all their activities. The all-knower, the supersoul within the heart of the devotee, makes everything increasingly fresh. This is known as the Brahman position by the advocates of the absolute truth. In such a liberated stage, Brahmabhuta, one is never bewildered, nor does one lament or become unnecessarily jubilant. This is due to the
Brahmabhuta situation.
This is due to the Brahmabhuta situation. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, so what is it telling us? That what happens when we engage in devotional service? This feeling ever increasingly fresh and new in all their activities. So chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is described as an endless, refreshing experience for the devotee, basically. And in the purport again, Srila Prabhupada also gives example of Srila Rupa Goswami, who is desiring for millions of ears and tongues to relish the bliss of chanting the Mahamantra. Of course, so we are neither here nor there, but At least that is the end goal that we can aspire for. At least we can look forward that there is a hope that Srila Rupa Goswami is an advanced devotee. And how and what were the symptoms that he displayed was that he is longing for more and more chanting and more tongues, millions of ears to hear, thousands of tongues to chant, right? So if it is written, means it will happen. So that is what it is telling us. We also know of, like when we went to Puri Yatra, we also saw Srila Haridas Thakur's this one, Samadhi, where everybody is coming and chanting. Why do we do that? It's because we want a similar taste, maybe a drop of that taste by sitting where they perform their pastimes. So advanced devotees find such inspiration in Krishna consciousness. And so and they have a continuous flow of such inspiration. And Krishna is always, and why are they able to do that? Because they're not really bothered about like, acha, if I do that, who will take care of my family? Who will give them food? They're not really bothered about all those, right? Because again, the principle of Bhagavad Gita. What is Krishna saying in Bhagavad Gita? Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. That for those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So that's what he is talking about, right? That he will take care of everything that is needed for a devotee, and he will take care of whatever they lack, and he will preserve whatever they have. He's already confirming it. It is principle, means he will take care. So Krishna takes care of everything that is needed. We need not over endeavor. We just need to do what is necessary. Of course, we can't like just sit idle and say that, okay, Krishna, now you are in charge. He's not our servant that we are appointing to take care of all our day-to-day activities. That's not the attitude. The idea is that I will do my best, whatever I can, but I will do my best in devotional service. If material worldly affairs are taking over and kind of overpowering my devotional service, I will do only what is necessary, and rest it is on Krishna. If it is really needed for me, he will provide. If it's not needed for me, he will take away. He will preserve what is needed for me. He will take care of my goals. If I have that faith and engage myself more in the at least whatever best I can in the devotional service, in my daily activities, at least should not be compromised. Like be it my chanting, my reading of Srimad Bhagavatam daily, whatever Prabhupada had prescribed, those should not be compromised for those. So that is what is our endeavor. And therefore, here also we see that in the purport, Prabhupada has given a devotee is guided by super soul within the heart to advance in devotional service. The devotee feels neither tired nor stagnant in the spiritual journey. So what does this mean? We have our experience that when we do anything material, by the end of the day, how do we come home? We are so tired. We are kind of so exhausted. We are hungry. Everything is like on the depleting side only. But when we are performing spiritual activities, like we have our experience that so many, one after another, we have had festivals, we have had such exalted personalities visiting our bhakti center. We were constantly on our toes. More than us, obviously, is the core team who's actually worked hard day and night. But within our capacity also, within our limited this one, we are also endeavoring to be there to do something, whatever within our capacity. Every one of us has tried to do something extra. We see that is not, we are not getting exhausted by all that. One thing ends, another thing starts. We are not worried, Are, another thing is starting, give me a break. We don't think like, yay, Hari bol. And then we start off with the next planning. Again, we start off with the next execution. So we see that taste is there in the only in the spiritual activities, that you can't get tired. And of course, we are ultimately, we are bodies, and there is some some exhaustion in the body definitely would be there, but mentally we want to do more and more. Physically, our ability may not allow us, but that should not dishearten us. But as long as our intention is to serve more, but we can also plead from Krishna, give me some more strength, give me some more energy, give me some more good health, so that I can perform these activities. I want to do more and more for you, but I'm not able to do because of this body that I have got, because of my age, because of my conditions. I am not able to perform that. But our intention does not change. Even if we are not there, our heart is always there in the Bhakti Center. So advanced devotees find everything inspiring, and there is a continuous flow of new inspiration in their devotional practices. Krishna is always taking care of. We discussed this. So according to Srila Jiva Goswami, Super Soul reveals himself increasingly as new and inspiring to the devoted heart. So the more and more we are engaging in the service, we see that our experiences are different. Krishna keeps revealing new experiences to us, and therefore he keeps it ever fresh. What realization I had today by reading Bhagavad Gita is not the same as what I had maybe 2 years back, or not even maybe 6 months back. What I am understanding in Srimad Bhagavatam today, first of all, allowing me and giving me the permission to read Bhagavatam also is a newness, right? So things like that. Now, after this, a very important aspect, the most important thing of this chapter is the prayers to the Lord. And in any prayers, we see these 4 elements, which are very important. Be it whatever be the prayers, whether it is Kunti Maharani prayers, Dhruva prayers, Gajendra Moksham prayers, any prayers, Bhishma Stuti. So you will see these 4 important elements always in those prayers. The first one is glorification of the Lord. Then some verses which show humility and gratitude. Gratitude in the sense thankfulness for whatever is being received, and then seeking forgiveness for whatever mistakes we have done, and most important, asking of benedictions. So like that, so we see that these are the 4 common elements which are there. Some or most of it are always there in all the prayers. So from verse 21, actually, we start seeing that they are now ready for prayers. They to offer prayers to to the Supreme Lord. So Maitreya Uvacha, Evam Bruvanam Purushartha Janardanam Pranjalaya Prachetasa Taddarshanatvastatamorajomala Girakrinan Kadaya Suruttamam. Yes, Swapna Mataji, translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Translation. The great sage Maitreya said, after the personality of Godhead spoke thus, the Prachitas began to offer him prayers. The Lord is the bestower of all success in life, and he is the supreme benefactor. He is also the supreme friend who takes away all miserable conditions experienced by a devotee. In a faltering voice, due to the ecstasy, the Prachitas began to offer prayers. They were purified by the presence of Lord who was before them face to face. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So very important point here is, one is that obviously glorifying of the Lord. When Maitreya is glorifying that the Lord is the bestower of all success in life. He is the supreme benefactor, and he is also the supreme friend. Okay, and began to offer prayers. They were purified by the presence of the Lord. This is the point on which Prabhupada actually expands in this purport. So this purport is basically dedicated for about this purification by the presence of the Lord. Now, a very important word here is described as Purushartha Bhajanam, the bestower of the ultimate goal of life. So Lord is described as Purushartha Bhajanam, And all success is basically attained only by his mercy. The Prachetas received the Lord's darshan. The appearance of Lord before them naturally removed all the contaminations of the material qualities like Rajas and Tamas. Because why? Krishna is Shuddha Sattva. So once you get in contact, first of all, getting darshan of him itself is purifying. You get rid of all the material contaminations. So practically, as the name of the Lord is identical to the Lord himself. No, we may wonder, okay, Prachetas got the darshan. What about me? So does it mean that I will never get purified? So practically, actually, Prabhupada dedicates this purport for that only, so that we don't have such disheartening thoughts. So he talks about that the name of the Lord is identical to the Lord himself. Every day we are chanting for 2 hours, which means that we are getting darshan of the Lord for 2 hours straight every day. And then we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is also same as the Lord. He is the Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of the Lord and is non-different from the Lord. If we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, which means that we are getting darshan of the Lord. So hearing the messages of Lord Krishna will have the same impact as seeing the darshan of the Lord that Prachetas got. So imagine it's very difficult to take this verse. Sometimes we may even take it lightly, but it is actually very, very powerful. And especially with the conviction that Prabhupada is trying to convey his thoughts in the purport. Only after reading these, I understood again and again, because so far we always know, okay, chanting the names are not different from the Lord. We tell about these things so mechanically. We don't realize what we are actually saying, but actually it means that we are getting that darshan of the Lord, and that is purifying our heart. Whether we believe or not is immaterial. So Srimad Bhagavatam, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, and so these activities and how Prabhupada actually planned our day and the activities in that show his detailing in how he can actually pull us all out of this rat of material existence. So and I feel very, very fortunate after reading these verses that that's what it is. Lord is described as the bestower of all success. He's the supreme benefactor. He's the supreme friend. So Prachetas' unhappiness disappeared by the Lord's presence, highlighting the transformative impact of direct communion with the divine. So as soon as they saw the Lord, their unhappiness disappeared. And why will unhappiness come in the first place? Are we unhappy in the spiritual world? We are not, because there are no 3 modes. So unhappiness is a factor only of this material world where the modes are present. Prabhupada in his purport is therefore placing the special emphasis on purification. And he's talking about that practically how can we take this verse and apply it in our life. Is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra purifies our material contamination, and the holy name of the Lord is emphasized as being the Lord himself. And by chanting and hearing, one becomes purified. So we just have to believe in what he's saying. We just have to have that faith, and then everything will be taken care of. We go to the next prayer. This is the prayers, starting of the prayers of Prachetas. I'm already so long into the class, and I'm still just starting the prayers. So let us see how it goes. Prachetasauchu Namo Namah Klesha Vinashanaya Nirupito Dara Gunahvayaya Manovacho Vega Purojavaya Sarvaksha Margair Akatatbhane Namaha. Who will read the translation next? You can just unmute and start reading. Anybody can do it. 1, 2, 3, otherwise I will read it. 1.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna. Please read.
Translation. Pracheta spoke as follows: Dear Lord, you relieve all kinds of material distress. You are magnanimous, transcendental qualities, and holy name are all auspicious. This conclusion is already settled. You can go faster than the speed of mind and words. You cannot be perceived by material senses. We therefore offer you respectful obeisances again and again. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. So here the word in the purport Prabhupada is concentrating on is this conclusion is already settled. Nirupita. It's concluded. What is concluded actually? That the Lord's names and qualities are magnanimous and generous. That is concluded. And how do we say that? There are so many episodes which are proved in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? We have so many episodes where we have seen that Lord is magnanimous, Lord is generous. Can you give me some examples of such episodes? Do we need to really do a research to find, acha, is really Lord magnanimous, is really Lord generous? Let me prove. And things like that. Do we really need the proofs, or what are the proofs which are already available in Srimad Bhagavatam and our scriptures? Just 2-3 examples. I'm just checking whether you're awake in my class or sleeping. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, ma'am.
Lord protects his devotees every time. Like for
Give me an example
Gajendra.
of one devotee.
Gajendra. Draupadi, Gajendra.
But
Prahlad Maharaj.
that is his mercy, definitely. But when we call magnanimous and generous,
Okay.
when do we call that? Is when somebody who is like totally undeserving is not doing something totally opposite to his wish also, he is actually taking care of them, which are such examples.
All the demons who came to Vrindavan, like he gave them Sai Jamakti.
Yeah, Lavanya Mataji says Prahlad, Dhruv, Draupadi. Yes, Prahlad, Dhruv, Draupadi were devotees. But
Hare Krishna Mataji, Ajamil story.
yes,
Thank you.
Prabhuji. Ajamila is a very, very good example. Ajamila. Putana is another good example. She came to give poison. Yeah, at least Ajamila was not poisoning. He was only like calling his son Narayana, Narayana. But Putana came to give poison, and that is an example of magnanimous and generosity. That actually proves we don't have to again do a research in it. You just take the scriptures, take the examples, and everything is available. So we just have to read and faithfully engage in our senses in Krishna's service, and it will be done. So another important thing is that everything is available in the Vedas. The Vedas contain everything you need to find God and for growing in spirituality. So in that 15.15 also Krishna says, na, Vedaischa sarve ahameva vedya. So that for understanding God through the Vedas is the perfect way. So there is already proof. Everything is available. We just need to refer them. So here we are talking about concluded why it is crucial. We have understood that because it is showing us the magnanimity and generosity of the Lord. Our senses can't grasp God's. So if we really have to do the research, are we really capable of doing it? That's what we are talking about. We don't have that capacity or capability. Our senses can't grasp God's special qualities and activities. He is inconceivable. If we use our senses for loving service, so what we can only do is that we can use our service, our senses in the service of the Lord. And lovingly, as described in scriptures, as guided by our spiritual master. We just have to follow. You do this, do this, do this. And we just have to do that. And then when we approach God with love, whenever whatever needs to be revealed is automatically revealed within the heart. That also Krishna has mentioned that I will reveal myself to you, right? In Bhagavad Gita, again the principle. So the Lord, therefore, is very easily reachable through love and not through our mental speculation. If we go by, acha, he did this, so is he God or not? If we go by that way, then inno janmal kuda sarpo manki. But if we just believe that he is the Lord and he'll take care, and that he is, he'll reveal himself in time based on the quality of our devotional service and our service attitude. So God's mercy is the key. So God can be reached through his kindness, not just by our efforts. Other methods won't work. So that's what he's saying, and that's what is mentioned in the purport. So now we go to the next prayer. Sorry. Shuddhaya Shantaya Namaswanishthaya Manasya Patham Vilasatvayaya Namo Jagatsthanalayodaeshu Brihita Maya Gunavigrahaya. Anybody new wants to read?
Yes, Mataji, my daughter wants to read.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Pranam. Please read.
Dear Lord, we beg to offer our obeisances unto you. When the mind is fixed upon you, the world of duality, although a place for material enjoyment, appears meaningless. Your transcendental form is full of transcendental bliss. We therefore offer our respects unto you. Your appearances as Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva are meant for the purpose of creating, maintaining, and annihilating this cosmic manifestation. Thank you. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Mataji. So what they are talking about, that even when we are engaged in our daily activities, in our daily tasks, so the purport basically Prabhupada is highlighting the word anasakti. So we reach a stage anasakti where we are not attached to the material things much, because we are doing our everyday task, and that's what is mentioned here. When the mind is fixed upon you, the world of duality, although a place for material enjoyment, appears meaningless. So it is there for everybody else. It will appear, oh wow, they have so much wealth. This devotee has so much wealth, they can enjoy so much. But for the devotee, everything is there, but they are not attached to it, and it does not it is not that meaningful for them, because they're very attached to the devotional service of the Lord. So Srila Rupa Goswami also clarifies that a devotee uses material things appropriately without getting attached, in which he is mentioned this in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, I think 2.255 or something. It says, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatharham Upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sampandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. So, Anasaktasya Vishayan, they develop detachment to the worldly matters. So, that is what is a side effect of loving devotion service. So this verse differentiates that the real pleasure we derive from Lord versus temporary pleasure. So this is the real pleasure and this is the temporary. So which is more enriching and which is more tasty is the real pleasure. And this world is always a world of duality. Everything coexists here. But a true devotee is always focused on serving the Lord. And that he understands very well that this material nature is temporary and does not seek pleasure from it. Devotee knows that everything in this world is a display of the Supreme Lord's energy. So whatever we are seeing, whether it is opulence or whatever we are seeing, basically is Lord's energy only. And a little expansion of that at the end of the verse is talking about how does Krishna use his energy to manage this material world. So he comes in his guna avatars, which are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So he appears in those guna avatars to maintain the three modes of material nature, and that itself takes care of the creation, sustenance, and annihilation of this cosmic world. So it is Krishna only again who is taking the Guna avatars and coming here. So a true devotee always knows of this, that whatever we are seeing is basically Krishna's energy. And the next verse actually expands a little bit more on this Guna avatars aspect. नमो विशुद्ध सत्वाय हरये हरिमेधसे वासुदेवाय कृष्णाय प्रभवे सर्वसात्वताम्. Yeah. Anybody to read the translation? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, shall I read?
Yes,
Anuradha.
Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
One second. Dear Lord, we offer our respectable obeisances unto you because your existence is completely independent of all material influences. Your Lordship always takes away the devotee's miserable conditions for your brain plans. I'm scrolling and reading, that's why. How to do so? You live everywhere as Paramatma, therefore you are known as Vasudeva. You also accept Vasudeva as your father and you are celebrated by the name Krishna. You are so kind that you always increase the influence of all kinds of devotees. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So when he talked about his Guna avatara, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. So many people have this tendency of equating all of them together, right? So, but this verse is further clarifying that no, Vishnu is not same as Brahma and Shiva, and that he is different. How is he different? Your existence is completely independent of all material influences. But we know, actually, even in the purport, Prabhupada actually talks about the influences on Shiva and Brahma. They have some bit of there is some influence of the Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva in Shiva and Brahma, and he also gives examples of how exactly that is so. But when it comes to the Lord, the Supreme Lord is completely independent of all these material influences. And he always takes away devotees' miserable conditions for your brain plans to how to do so. So that is what is Hari Medhase, which means he is whether we are thinking about how to remove our own miseries or not, Lord is constantly thinking how to steal our sufferings, and not just thinking once in a while. He is thinking repeatedly how to steal away our sufferings. That is Hari Medhashe. So you also accept Vasudeva as your father and you're celebrated by the name Krishna. So now, so here when we're talking about, and basically this verse is, we are still in the glorification part, so and it is glorification of qualities which are continuing. So Guna avatars, he accepted the material modes and appears as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva as Guna avatars. And the previous verse talks about the three Guna avatars. Prabhupada dedicates this purport in clarifying how the Supreme Lord is different from Brahma and Shiva. Vishnu's pure existence does not adopt the material body. He is in Vishuddha Sattva. So Brahma and Shiva adopt the material body, but that is not the case with Vishnu. When he incarnates, he is in his Vishuddha Sattva and he is not touched by any of the material modes. And Lord's incarnations and plans incarnates repeatedly to deliver the pious, eliminate miscreants, establish religious principles, and to engage in the pastimes with his devotees. So one is that this verse is also clarifying the purpose of the incarnation, that there is a set purpose, and that his body is different, and that it is of Vishuddha Sattva. That is what this verse is actually clarifying and glorifying. And from here, the prayers further go. Namah Kamalanabhaya, Namah Kamalamaline, Namah Kamalapadaya, Namaste Kamalekshana. So does this similar to something? Whose prayers it is similar to?
Kunti Maharani. Nama Pankajanabha.
Namah Pankajamaline. So we may wonder, did they copy from Kunti or Kunti copied from them? So it's not a copy, but basically it is very similar to Prachetas, but Prachetas were the one who appeared first. Kunti is like 5,000 years back, but Prachetas did this many years ago. So, yes, who will read the translation? Hare Krishna. Dear Lord, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you because from your abdomen sprouts the lotus flower, the origin of all living entities. You are always decorated with a lotus garland, and your feet resemble the lotus flower with all its fragrance. Your eyes are also like petals of a lotus flower. Therefore, we always offer our respectful obeisances unto you. So here again is the glorification. But here, Prabhupada actually expands on one particular point, that Nama Kamala
స్నానం
Nabhaya.
చేసుకో స్నానం చేసేది
Nama Kamala
అంటే టైంకి వచ్చేస్తుంది
Hare Krishna. Kindly mute yourself, everybody. Yeah.
చాలే ఆ చాట గిట్ట అన్ని ఆ బట్టలు తీసే వాళ్ళు
Others,
వాళ్ళు
Deepa ji,
ఎట్లా
can you
అరేంజ్
keep up?
చేసుకుంటే
Can you mute?
చేసుకొని నువ్వు ఇది చేయ
I request everybody to please keep checking whether your audios are muted or not. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So, yeah. So the concentration, the focus point in this purport is basically about Kamala Nabhaya, which is the origin of all living entities. Right. So when we go to the Janmadhyasya Yata, the absolute truth is he from whom everything emanates. So that is the focus that we are talking about. He is the source of everything. He is the origin of all creation. And that is what is described in this purport. Now we go to verse 26. Nama Kamala Kinjalka Pishangamala Vasase Sarvabhuta Nivasaya Namo Yungshmahi Sakshine. If anybody wants to read, please raise your hand. Until then, I will be reading. Dear Lord, the garment you have put on is yellowish in color, like the saffron of a lotus flower, but it is not made of anything material. Since you live in everyone's heart, you are the direct witness of all the activities of all living entities. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you again and again. So here, what's talking about? That you are not made of anything material. So when even when he's talking about Lord's the yellow loincloth, which is spotless. So everything is spotless about Krishna because he is in Vishuddha Sattva. So since you live in, and then this verse is also talking about the all pervading quality of Krishna as the super soul. In so also that how merciful he is, because he's sitting in our heart and he is the witness to every activity, every thought that we are doing. So nothing is actually hidden from him. He knows everything. Even whether we want to go towards him, he knows. We want to go away from him, he knows. He knows everything, every thought. So we also should know that he is there in our heart. So it can guide us in two ways. When we are doing the right things, we may think that, okay, the world may misunderstand me, but Krishna will not misunderstand me because he is sitting in my heart. He is Upadrishta Hanumantacha. So he is actually watching. He is the witness to everything that I am doing. He knows my intentions. So if my intentions are to serve him in a certain way, but I am getting misunderstood by different people, but Krishna will not misunderstand me. That is my understanding. And at the same time, if I'm going in the wrong direction, then also I know that Krishna is the guiding light. So I know I'm aware. If I'm aware, so most of the times, those who do these heinous crimes and everything, 200% or 1000%, they know they are atheistic, because they feel that there is nobody watching them. There is nobody. There is no account. Police is not there. They think that is only the. They don't know of the court of justice or court of law which exists outside of this material world. They don't know about it. So therefore they do whatever they want. But that is not the case. He's there. He's watching every move, and everything is being accounted for. So every action will have its own reaction. And we as devotees are usually aware of this. And again, it's not that I'm practicing it 100%, but by saying it out loud, we can only again and again reinstate into our mind, put a stamp on our mind, so that we are conscious of every step that we take, and do things as per Krishna's will. And that's what it is talking about. So Lord's garments are spotless. Lord Vishnu is all pervasive. So again, this is Sarva Bhuta Nivasaya. So he stays in everyone's heart. And therefore he gives the intelligence to the living entity based on their desires. And most importantly, we have to remember that he is also granting us the free will. So while he is sitting there, he is not obstructing our free will. He is giving us intelligence also, and also he is giving us the free will. So Supreme Lord grants the facilities for actions according to the desires for the living entities, allowing them to act as they wish. And so that is what it is. And therefore we have to be grateful to him that he is giving us the intelligence and also the free will to act. Rupam Bhagavata Tvetad Ashesha Klesha Sanshayam Avishkritam Na Klishtanam Kimmanyad Anukampitam. Anybody to read translation? Dear Lord, we conditioned souls are always covered by ignorance in the bodily conception of life. Suma Mataji, do you want to read?
Yes, Mataji.
Please read,
Some lag in unmuting myself. Sorry.
Okay.
Dear Lord, we conditioned souls are always covered by ignorance in the bodily conception of life. We therefore always prefer the miserable conditions of material existence. To deliver us from these miserable conditions, you have advented yourself in this transcendental form. This is evidence of your unlimited costless mercy upon those of us who are suffering in this way. Then what to speak of the devotees to whom you are always so favorably disposed?
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
So here we are talking about evidence of unlimited causeless mercy. So getting darshan of the Lord is the evidence of unlimited causeless mercy. So we may think again, will we ever get that darshan? But we are actually getting the archa vigrahas in our temples or at our homes are all causeless mercy of the Lord, because he knows that we need that kind of mercy. We need darshan to get relieved of this contamination. So obviously that is the reason why he is presenting himself in the archa forms. And that is what Prabhupada is actually focusing in this purport, about the archa vigraha and the causeless mercy that we are getting through that. So here it is talking about the mercy when of the beautiful form. So even in the Kurukshetra battle, we know that whoever was present there were actually liberated. So whether they were on the side of Krishna or the other side of Krishna, right? So so therefore everybody was killed, but everybody got benefited. There was nobody at a loss. The living entities. And therefore the appearance of Lord diminishes all kinds of miserable conditions. And that was the impact of them seeing. So why is Prabhupada quoting this in the purport? Is that is the effect. So if demon is also actually liberated by seeing the darshan, and when we go to the temple, when we are seeing the Archa Vigrahas, this is the consciousness that we have to have, that he is bestower of all benedictions, and he is going to relieve us from this miserable condition. We just have to have that faith, and we should not, otherwise we'll just go as if we are just seeing the deity very mechanically, without that consciousness that we are not seeing Krishna. And we keep searching, when will I get to see Krishna? We are actually seeing right in front of us. Prabhupada makes the context relatable to us. How can we relate to Lord's appearance? And we may wonder, when will our miserable conditions diminish? So he talks about Archa Vigraha. The form of Lord worshipped in temples is called Archa Vigraha. And that is the valuable benediction for neophyte devotees. That's what he mentions in the purport. To gradually invoke their original Krishna consciousness, to give us that remembrance of our original constitutional position. He is appearing in the Archa Vigraha form. And we just have to take the advantage of that and visit and take darshan of the Archa Vigrahas. एतावत्त्वं हे विभुभिर् भाव्यं दीनेषु वत्सलै यद् अनुस्मर्यते काले स्वबुद्ध्या भद्ररन्धना. Usha Mataji, translation. Hare Krishna. Usha Mataji. Okay. Dear Lord, you are the killer of all inauspicious things. You are compassionate upon your poor devotees through the expansion of your Archa Vigraha. You should certainly think of us as your eternal servants. So like we discussed, the same thing. And even in the purport, actually Prabhupada is giving an example of the story of that Brahmana who did all the offerings mentally, because he didn't have the capacity to actually physically offer anything. He didn't have any means to do physical worship. So therefore he mentally offered sweet rice to the Lord, and the Lord accepted it, despite that this was not the norm. So the lesson that we can learn from the Brahmana story is that the story teaches that sincere devotees should accept Archa Vigraha at home or in the temple, worshipping the Lord's form as directed by scriptures and the spiritual master. So that is what is the thing, that it is Lord's compassion that he is appearing as Archa Vigraha, and offering to Archa Vigrahas whatever we are offering, and Lord accepts it, because he says in Bhagavad Gita again as a principle that Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, whatever you offer to me, I will accept it if you offer it to me with love. So we just have to not mechanically offer it, but with love, if we are offering it, he will accept it. And that's why he is called the Bhakta Vatsala. He is the most compassionate to his devotees. Good. I'll try to complete this soon, Mataji's and Prabhuji's. Sorry for the delay. येनोपशान्तिर्भूतानां क्षुल्लकानाम् अपि हताम् अन्तर्हितोऽन्तर्हृदये कस्मान्नो वेदनाशिषः. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I thought for the earlier sloka I wanted to read. Now I'll read Mataji. Sorry.
No problem.
Hare Krishna. When the Lord, out of his natural compassion, thinks of his devotee, by that process only are all desires neophyte devotee fulfilled. The Lord is situated in every living entity's heart, although the living entity may be very insignificant. The Lord knows everything about the living entity, including all his desires. Although we are very insignificant, why should the Lord not know our desires? Hare
So
Krishna.
same thing about Lord being present in us as super soul, being witness to all our desires, and that he has the wish fulfilling capacity. We should use our intelligence to ask for the right things and desiring the right things. Otherwise, Lord is there and he is there watching us, and he is there to fulfill the desires. So success in devotion service is if a devotee confidently performs prescribed devotional duties, the Lord present within his heart comprehends the sincerity and leading to successful outcomes. So we don't have to worry who's watching. Will Krishna ever know? He knows every bit of it. If we are really endeavoring for him, he is watching us and he knows it. And nobody else needs to know about that. असावेव वरोऽस्माकम् ईप्सितो जगतः पते प्रसन्नो भगवान् येषाम् अपवर्ग गुरुर्गतिः. Translation.
Shall
O
I read,
Lord of...
Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please read.
O Lord of the universe, you are the actual teacher of the science of devotional service. We are satisfied that your Lordship is the ultimate goal of our life, and we pray that you will be satisfied with us. That is our benediction. We do not desire anything other than your full satisfaction. Thank you, Mataji.
So here the word, we pray that you will be satisfied with us. It's not a simple terminology. Okay, whatever we do, you be satisfied with us. That's not what he means. Ki, I will do whatever I want, whatever I am doing. You please be satisfied. So intention is not that. What they are asking is, you be satisfied with us. So if Krishna has to be satisfied with us, what are the actions we are supposed to take? How must we conduct ourselves to please Krishna? So the ultimate benediction is that he should be satisfied. Not that he should be satisfied with whatever we do, but we do whatever brings satisfaction to Krishna. That is the key focus here. So the verse though looks very simple, but actually it has a very, very deep meaning. And it is asking for us to empower us to serve Krishna in the right consciousness to please him. So it's not a small desire. And because if Krishna has to be pleased with us, so we do small thing, even we are not able to please our own family members most of the times. So pleasing Krishna by doing the things as he guided us in Bhagavad Gita is the only key. So let's do what those things which are pleasing to the Lord. Varam vrinimhe thapi nath tvat paratah parat nahyantastvat vibhutinam sonanta iti giyase. Translation. Dear Lord, we shall therefore pray for your benediction because you are the supreme, beyond all transcendence, and because there is no end to your opulences. Consequently, you are celebrated by the name Ananta. So this is, and the next set, so like we saw in the elements of the prayers, that one is about glorifications. The glorification is completed. Then gratitude is completed, that we are thankful Krishna is present in our heart, guiding us. Those is completed. It's slowly progressing towards the benedictions, and that's what starts from the verse 33 onwards, that they ask for different benedictions. But these two verses, the 31 and 32, are like kind of warm-up verses towards the benediction verses. So what are they saying? That you are Ananta. So they are praising the Lord for being Ananta. Ananta means unlimited. So one way of thinking is that you are Ananta. While they are saying that what more benedictions that we need, that now that we got darshan of you, there is no more benediction. So which is needed. That's what is the development in future. But actually what it also means is that you are unlimited. So we need unlimited, a benediction which is unlimited in nature. So there is nothing So you are Ananta, so I want Ananta benediction, not some mundane benediction. So there is nothing which is more entangling than service of the Lord. So we have that experience, it never ends. We have this experience, right? Something keeps coming up, like I spoke about the various services we do in the Bhakti Center, and something keeps coming up. So we know that the nature of the services are unlimited. There is no exhaustion there. So it keeps coming up. So that is what they are praying for. They are praying that we unlimitedly be engaged in your service. That's what they are basically praying for. So here, benediction. So Prachetas didn't seek any benediction because devotees find satisfaction in mere presence. So we see in Dhruv Maharaj example also that he actually went to do all the austerities. He wanted to ask for something which is like beyond even Brahma and more than Brahma possessed and things like that. So his original intention was that, but as soon as he saw the Lord, he didn't ask for a thing. So nothing came to his mind. It was like just he was satisfied with that itself. So devotees desire to be in the presence of Lord and engaging parat, beyond Brahman and Paramatma. So Srila Jiva Goswami interprets this word as better than Brahman realization, emphasizing the superiority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Plan to ask for something unlimited, recognizing the Lord's unlimited pastimes, qualities, forms, names, and creation. So understanding the unlimited nature of the Lord becomes achievable through hearing and chanting about his unlimited potency. So how do we get to know that he is unlimited? It was only when we hear more and more about his unlimited potencies. And then we can establish a direct connection with the Supreme Lord, who is unlimited in nature. I'll just go a little fast from here. Parijatenjasa labdhe sarangonyana sevate vadangrimulam asadya sakshat kim vrinimahi. Dear Lord, when the bee approaches the celestial tree called the Parijata, it certainly does not leave the tree because there is no need for such action. Similarly, when we have approached your lotus feet and taken shelter of them, what further benediction may we ask of you? So Parijata is mentioned here specifically because Parijata, seems it is a spiritual, it's a tree in the spiritual world, and it has unlimited nectar. How much ever nectar the bees can actually keep sucking, and the nectar keeps coming. So therefore, Lord's lotus feet are equated to the Parijata flower, which is unlimited in nature. And that automatically devotees are like those bumblebees who are automatically attracted to the lotus feet. यावत्ते मायया स्पृष्टा ब्रह्मा इह कर्मभिः तावद्भवत् प्रसंगानां संगस्यान्नो भवे भवे. Dear Lord, as long as we have to remain within this material world due to our material contamination and wander from one type of body to another and from one planet to another, we pray that we may associate with those who are engaged in discussing your pastimes. We pray for this benediction, life after life, in different bodily forms and on different planets. So this is very similar to that, to the prayers that we usually do, even in Shikshashtakam or Damodarashtakam, where it is being asked that it doesn't matter whether we get birth again and again, whether we don't get liberated, but wherever we are, we want to have darshan of you, and that can be possible only in association where we discuss such spiritual matters where it is possible to get darshan. So best benediction for a devotee is the opportunity to hear about Lord's activities and pastimes, especially in association. So pure devotee is not anxious to stop the cycle of birth and death. Instead, they are always eager to associate with other devotees who are engaged in chanting and hearing. It does not matter whether they get birth or do not get birth. That is not their ultimate goal. Their ultimate goal is that they have to have association and they should constantly hear about Lord and chant his glories. This is a very important verse actually. तुलयामलवेनापि न स्वर्गं न पुनर्भवम् भगवत्सङ्गि सङ्गस्य मर्त्यानां किम् उताशिषः. Even a moment's association with a pure devotee cannot be compared to being transferred to heavenly planets or even merging into the Brahman effulgence in complete liberation. For living entities who are destined to give up the body and die, association with pure devotees is the highest benediction. So this is actually talking about the same theme, that association is so important that even a moment's association with such exalted devotees is incomparable to any heavenly planets or even liberation. So it is incomparable. That's what it is talking about. That the superiority of devotee association, a pure devotee regards a moment's association with another pure devotee as far superior to residing in heavenly planets. And so best solution for confusion and frustration is allowing them to find the highest happiness through the association with devotees. So we also experience that in our life, whatever we may be disturbed with, whether it is work or any other sphere of our life. The moment we are in association and we engage in Krishna Katha or something discussing about matters related to our daily practices or about the next events, we forget whatever is happening outside. So that is the best remedy for or best solution for the confusion and frustration that we experience in this material life. यत्रेड्यन्ते कथामृष्टास् तृणाया प्रशमो यतः निर्वैरं यत्र भूतेषु नोद्वेगो यत्र कश्चन. Whenever pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed, the members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer from anxiety or fear. So this is further expanding on what are the benefits of hearing in association. So that the discussion of holy topics of the personality of Godhead by pure devotees turns any place into Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means a place where there are no miseries, no kunthas, free from fear and anxiety. So Lord's presence in Shravanam Kirtanam is the best thing that we can do so that we don't experience the material miseries. The method involves propagating the Shravanam Kirtanam process globally, like how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually conducted the Harinam Sankirtan movement. So the decision of Prachitas is to choose to always remain in the company of the devotees, considering that to be the highest benediction in human life. Yatra Narayana Sakshat Bhagavanyasinam Gatihi Samstuyate Sat Kathasu Mukta Sangai Punah Punah. Vanilla Mataji, do you want to do the translation? Sorry, I think you had raised your hand. Yeah, Mataji.
The Supreme Lord Narayana is present among devotees who are engaged in hearing and chanting the holy name of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Narayana is the ultimate goal of sannyasis, those in the renounced order of life. And Narayana is worshipped through this Sankirtana movement by those who are liberated from material contamination. Indeed, they recite the holy name again and again. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So this is present among devotees who are engaged. So the Lord himself is present right there when devotees are engaged in hearing and chanting. This also we have heard so many times that in any Srimad Bhagavatam Katha, Krishna sits and all the devotees are also sitting. Even Narad Muni is there. We hear of these things, right? In the purport, actually, what Prabhupada does is that he's talking about this Lord Narayana is the ultimate goal of sannyasis. So the usual misinterpretations is what he's trying to tackle, because there are many sannyasis who say, I am Narayana, you are Narayana, Daridra Narayana. There are so many things which come into picture. But Prabhupada is kind of dispelling those misconceptions. He's talking about Narayana being present in the Sankirtana movement. For example, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present in the Sankirtana movement, and he is the Lord's incarnation himself, Yuga Avatara. So that is how we need to understand, not about me being Narayana and you being Narayana. So that is what is basically mentioned in the purport. Tesham vicharatam padbhyam तीर्थानां पावनेच्छया भीतस्य किं न रोचेता तावकानां समागमः. Dear Lord, your personal associates, devotees wander all over the world to purify even the holy places of pilgrimage. Is not such activity pleasing to those who are actually afraid of material existence? So he's also talking about this, and this has come multiple times in Srimad Bhagavatam, that devotees are actually akin to holy places of pilgrimage. Because in the holy places, what happens is that somebody goes, like where Ganga is there, they go, they take a dip, they try to purify themselves of the sins. But that does not take away the tendency of committing the sins from that person. And it is only when the devotees actually are visiting there to the holy places, what they do is that they take away the, when one is associating with such devotees, even the tendency to commit sins also vanquishes. So that is what devotees always carry this. Why does that happen? Because devotees carry the Supreme Personality of Godhead within, and they make any place they go a pilgrimage site. So pilgrimage site is not a pilgrimage site because it is a pilgrimage site, but it is a pilgrimage site because the devotee is visiting there with the Supreme Lord in their heart. So then Prabhupada also talks about the different kinds of devotees which are there: Bhajananandis, Goshtyanandis. Bhajananandis are the ones who engage in solitary, in the chanting and hearing of the Lord's holy names. But Goshtyanandi is the one who is actually preaching, who is going world over, and is preaching Lord's glories and pastimes. And those are the people who are actually the who are like the pilgrimage sites itself. You meet them and then you get purified, and purified not just of the past sins, but even the tendency of committing the sins. And Narad Muni was one such exalted devotee of the Supreme Lord. And we know of so many episodes where Narad Muni actually purified and enhanced the devotional service of so many devotees, like whether it is Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj. So many who got benefited because of Narad Muni being a Ghoshyanandi, who was a preacher, who was a walking pilgrimage in himself. The prayers are coming to an end, so I just want to finish the prayers. So please bear with me. I'm really sorry for the delay. It's my first class, so I hope you will all pardon me for that. I am still not aware of how to time them. Vayam tu sakshat bhagavan bhavasya priyasya sakhyo kshana sangamena sudushchikitsyasya bhavasya mrityor bhishaktamam twadya gatim gatasma. Translation: Dear Lord, by virtue of a moment's association with Lord Shiva, who is very dear to you and who is your most intimate friend, we were fortunate to attain you. You're the most expert physician capable of treating the incurable disease of material existence. On account of our great fortune, we have been able to take shelter at your lotus feet. So now their asking for benedictions has come to an end. They are remembering how did they get this fortune of getting Lord's darshan was because of a moment's association with Lord Shiva, who is himself Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. He is the greatest devotee of the Lord. And that's how they got this benediction. So, and similarly, Prabhupada in purport also mentions that Ravana also worshipped Shiva, but ultimately he was fallen because he had asked for material benedictions. But whereas gopis also met Shiva and asked for Krishna to be their husband. So that's how when we are worshipping demigods, our aim should be to return back home, back to Godhead. So many of us also, like for me especially, I got into Krishna consciousness when I spent a lot of time actually worshipping Ganesha, requesting for some direction in my spiritual life. And that's how, and this appeared. I'm thinking that that could have led to this. I'm not really sure. But this was the succession of the event. So I'm just assuming that this could have happened because of Ganesha's mercy, because I never asked for, okay, you remove my obstacles or anything, which usually, so my tendency was that I used to forget what to ask. When I used to go to pray also, I didn't know what to ask. And I used to say, Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavanti. But later, I started asking Ganesha that I'm not like, I don't understand what to do. At least tell me what to do, how to do it, how to even pray. And that's how I actually got into Krishna consciousness. So that is what happens when you are associating, and even when you are worshipping demigods, with what attitude and what actually you want ultimately from that demigod, is your only aim should be how to go back to Godhead. That is the only aim. यन्न स्वधीतं गुरुवः प्रसादिता विप्रश्च वृद्धाश्च सदानुवृत्त्या आर्यानतासो हृदो भ्रातराश्च सर्वाणि भूतानि अनसूययैव यन्न सुतप्तं तपयेतदीश निरन्धसां कालमदभ्रमप्सु सर्वं तदेतत् पुरुषस्य भूम्नो ऋणीमहे ते परितोषणाय. These are very, very important prayers, Prabhuji's Mataji's, and therefore that's why I took time exclusively to read each and every shloka, because they are prayers. Prayers are very important to us because we need to know how to pray. And that was only the confusion most of the time in my mind. And therefore, prayers are very important. So the translation goes, Dear Lord, we have studied the Vedas, accepted a spiritual master, and offered respect to Brahmanas, advanced devotees and aged personalities who are spiritually very advanced. We have offered our respects to them, and we have not been envious of any brother, friends, or anyone else. We have also undergone severe austerities within the water and have not taken food for a long time. All these spiritual assets of ours are simply offered for your satisfaction. We pray for this benediction only. So what they are saying is that whatever we have done, whatever we do in our life, if we can just offer the results of those actions to Krishna, and Krishna will be satisfied, and they are asking for that as a benediction. What is the benediction? Asking for Krishna's satisfaction is the benediction. So Prachetas offer all their activities because they are only going by one principle, which is Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. And it also shows that they adhere to all the Vedic principles, including studying the Vedas, respecting the spiritual authorities. So they did not give up anything in their whims and fancies, but they did everything that was like as actually prescribed by the Vedas as a step-by-step process that was supposed to follow. And that is what they are actually quoting, that this is what we did. मनुस्वयंभूर्भगवान् भवश्च येन्ये तपोज्ञानविशुद्धसत्त्वा अदृष्टपारापि यन्महिम्ना स्तुवन्त्यथो त्वात्मसमं गृणीमा. So, dear Lord, even great yogis and mystics who are very much advanced by virtue of austerities and knowledge, and who have completely situated themselves in pure existence, as well as great personalities like Manu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva, cannot fully understand your glories and potencies. Nonetheless, they have offered their prayers according to their own capacities. In the same way, we, although much lower than these personalities, also offer our prayers according to our own capacity. This is also encouraging us that we can offer prayers in whatever way we can, but we should offer prayers in the best of our capacity, accepting the lotus feet of the Lord, and that is the only way to purify us through the grace of the Lord and the spiritual master. Namasamaya Shuddhaya Purushaya Paraya Cha Vasudevaya Satvaya Tubhyam Bhagavate Namaha. Dear Lord, you have no enemies or friends. Therefore, you are equal to everyone. You cannot be contaminated by sinful activities, and your transcendental form is always beyond this material creation. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead because you remain everywhere within all existence. You are consequently known as Vasudeva. We offer you our respectful obeisances. So, again, they are glorifying the Lord for his various qualities. And yeah. Supreme Personality does not have a material body. So they are re-emphasizing again and again that he has a spiritual body, and Satvaya signifies that the form of Lord's body is not material. It is Satchitananda Vigraha, which is a transcendental, eternal and blissful form. So it is basically glorifying the Lord's body again. And the prayers are almost coming to an end. Maitreyo Vacha इति प्रचेतोभिरभिष्टुतो हरि इति प्रचेतोभिरभिष्टुतो हरि प्रीतस्तथेत्याह शरण्यवत्सला अनिच्छतां यानमतृप्तचक्षुषां ययौ स्वधामानपवर्गवीर्या. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the protector of surrendered souls, being thus addressed by the Prachetas and worshipped by them, replied, May whatever you have prayed for be fulfilled. After saying this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose prowess is never defeated, left. The Prachetas were unwilling to be separated from him because they had not seen him to their full satisfaction. So that full satisfaction is very difficult to achieve for anybody, because even Dhruva got a very short darshan. We know Narada got a momentary darshan. So it is very difficult for anybody to get a darshan for a long time. So here it shows that it shows the quality of renunciation. That's why it is talking about apavarga virya, that Lord is full in all his opulences, including renunciations. Though all the devotees are very dear to him, but at the same time, he is not attached to any of the devotees. That's why his departure is actually is an exhibition of his kindness to innumerable other devotees, showcasing his renunciation. That's what Jiva Goswami is actually saying, and that's what has been quoted by Prabhupada in the purport, that he is unlimitedly kind. And therefore, the storyline begins from 44. The prayers have ended, and the story actually goes like this, that Prachina Bahirja left his kingdom before the return of his sons. And so by the time the Prachetas actually, they have meditated for about 10,000 years, they came up, they see that everything is like, there are like fully grown trees, very tall trees, which are not able to give them any vision. And but because Prachina Barhishat has left, and Lord had actually given them an instruction that they are supposed to go and take care of the kingdom where their father had left it. So if they have to take care of the kingdom, they actually needed more of an agricultural land. But that was not the case. Everything was fully grown trees. So they get angry and they actually burn most of the forests. And so by and even Shiva also helps them in burning the forest. So there actually Prabhupada also clarifies in the purports a little bit that we should not misunderstand this burning of forest fire, because we think that forests are necessary for getting rainfall and things like that. But Prabhupada says that that's not the only way to get rain, because if that was the case, then there shouldn't be any rain on the sea surface or the ocean surface. There should not be any rain. But rains come because of performing yajnas and sacrifices. It's not because of the forest. So where it is needed, then for the protection of the cows and for nurturing cows and the agricultural lands, forest lands can be cleared up. So that is what he's clarifying, because everywhere where we have a tendency to misinterpret or misunderstand the information, Prabhupada has given a purport clarifying those in our normal day-to-day terms. So upon emerging, the Prachetas observed that the land was covered with all trees, and angered by the situation, desired to clear the land. And that's how they cleared everything. And then, like Lord had predicted, they actually marry the daughter of Kandu sage and Pramlocha. Her name is Marishi, and they get a son called Daksha. This Daksha is the reincarnation of the same Daksha, and I already covered it in the beginning of the class. The story of Daksha, that how he waited for many manvantaras to take birth, and he takes care of further progeny, and that's where the chapter actually ends. 44 to 51 is just a storyline. You can also go through the translations, and that will take care of it. Thank you so much for your audience, and I'm really sorry for surpassing my time. Any questions or any feedback? Sorry, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Sorry, Mataji. Actually, your voice is breaking. I can't hear you. Okay, so
No,
we'll end
Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji, thank you, Prabhujis and Matajis, for giving me the opportunity and staying until now, despite the long session, and staying here with me.
Hare Krishna, Deepa Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Wonderful class, Mataji.
Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai, Srila Prabhupada book reading ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Deepa Mataji. Wonderful
Hare
class.
Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
It was wonderful, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Deepa Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Deepa Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
I'll end the session here, Deepa Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah,
Can I?
thank you so
I was
much.
just waiting. I didn't want to log off before others.
No
Hare
problem.
Krishna.